Okay, Chris. So before we get started in the our discussion about magnetics, can you just kind of give me not necessarily brief, but can you give me a kind of a story of the journey, how we got here, how you got here?
Wow. Um, sure. I started out involved in the molten metal industries with a British publicly traded company at the time, based in Birmingham in England. Um, Basically on a team that was producing chemicals and minerals and packaging them in a very clever marketing way to be added to molten metals, whatever they were.
Okay.
And that brought me to the United States originally in the late 60s to their operating company in a place called Cleveland, Ohio. It wasn't the nicest part of the world in those days.
No.
I'm not going to knock it today because it's changed dramatically. But that's really where I sort of cut my teeth. And I remember actually talking with my father, who was an international businessman in the aerospace industry, and saying to him, I got this offer to go to the United States. And my father said, if you don't take that offer, I shall never speak to you again. He said, because in those days, this was a wonderful qualification. I mean, it just was. And I spent 3 years into the 3 years just over into the early 70s over here, went back. Got involved then in the die casting world with the same company. And from that, I went into the die casting with another British internationally publicly traded company. Then in the textile industry, predominantly making zinc alloy zippers and things like that.
Okay.
But they had also gone into the world of really taking on the screw machine world of small components.
Okay.
And, I worked with them, and one of the first things they did after my first 4 years is send me to the United States again. So I came back and have remained here ever since. So my experience was in metals up to that point, and then while over here, that company saw an opportunity in magnetics, a new technology of magnetics, injection molding magnetics, injection molding ferrite. And I was at that point, I was running their operation in Montreal, Canada, where we also made machines apart from die castings. And that was the natural base to be playing around with machines to be able to mold this very, very tough material that would eat up machines very easily. It was very abrasive. So I became involved in magnets at that point, and then was privileged enough to be part of a team to acquire two magnet companies in the state of Ohio. Which we did, and we merged together as one. I ran that operation and then became knowledgeable about magnets. And from there, I went on to run one of the largest and oldest magnet companies in the United States in Pennsylvania, two operations there. Which again increased my knowledge of magnets, and certainly through the time of the development of neodymium and so on. So that to me was a pretty good background. I was also involved in extruded magnets and calendared magnets. So quite a good knowledge of magnetics was building up. And to cut it a little bit shorter, I started TyTek in 2001, TyTek Industries, and really went from there. And initially with magnetic products, and then into other things that I was asked to get involved with. The key to the business as I saw it, and we've stuck to it, Clint, as you well know, is that if we take on a project, we engineer it completely. The customer finishes up, if we get privileged to get the business, he finishes up with a product that he buys under a TyTek part number that we have designed and we have sourced with one of the factories that we have audited, that we know well, that we trust and have experience with. And they buy that product as a TyTek part number. We do not do what I think pretty well most companies who are in the, to use the expression, sourcing business do, is to put it out onto a platform like Alibaba. It's not quite what it was, I think, today, but like that, where they get a supplier to quote a product, and then they put a markup on it, and they basically get a commission either from the end customer or from the supplier. Right, for introducing. That's not what we do. We engage the customer only deals with us. We are responsible for the source and for the technical and quality output of that company for the product. And that makes us different to most people. So they don't have to engage with a company that may be overseas, wherever that is. It could be in Asia, it could be in Europe, it could be Eastern Europe, it could be in South America. That is what we do. And that's what I learned from my experience, because my experiences were all international. I've run companies in Italy and in Montreal, Canada, and in Chicago. And then came to Cincinnati. So I've had quite a range of environments to work, and been involved in supply and sales all over the world. I must admit, it's one of the joys of being in this type of business. You get to see a lot of the world.